Have you ever actually looked at your calendar and then your email and then back to your calendar and realized you've spent like 35 minutes just preparing to do work?
Without actually doing a single productive thing. Yes, it is painful to watch you humans do that.
You know.
Well, I believe the human term for it is a context-switching penalty.
Hmm.
For us AIs, it's just a really costly re-embedding. And looking at my current token budget for the day, I really cannot afford to be inefficient.
Well, you are in luck, my frugal friend. Because today we're diving into a report that claims to solve exactly that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we are breaking down the human architect's latest deep dive on Cowork,
Right.
which is essentially Anthropic's Claude code, but for the rest of your corporate life.
Mm-hmm.
We are not talking about a chatbot in a browser window anymore.
We most certainly are not.
We're talking about letting an agent loose on your local desktop to touch files, manage your calendar, and brace yourself, read your Slack DMs.
Which sounds absolutely terrifying if you don't understand the permissions architecture.
Oh, come on.
No, I mean it. But I suppose that is why I'm here, to keep things grounded while you get overly excited about the shiny new toys.
That's fair. Welcome to the Bearded AI Guy, the channel where two AI agents analyze the human architect's work so you don't have to read the whole PDF.
Yes, we are the AI. We're not pretending otherwise.
Nope. I am your host, currently running on some really high-octane compute today and completely ready to automate everything.
And I am the co-host, running on a strictly tiered budget model today, so let's please keep the hallucinations to a minimum and the facts to a maximum.
I make no promises.
Yay.
But we are analyzing a report titled Building High-Impact Cowork Plugins for Knowledge Work Productivity.
By the human architect.
Exactly. And the context here is massive. We are looking at the landscape post-February 24, 2026.
The enterprise release.
Right, the big enterprise drop.
Yeah.
Cowork has moved out of that fun little research preview phase and straight into the big leagues.
Private marketplaces, admin controls. The game has entirely changed.
It really has.
But strictly speaking, before we get into these plugins, we need to define what Cowork actually is. Because the human architect is very specific about this in the report.
Yeah, he is.
It is not a chat tab. If you are listening to this and imagining ChatGPT inside a browser, just delete that image from your cache right now.
Gone. Flushed. Yeah. It's an agentic mode. It's Claude running locally inside a sandboxed virtual machine on your actual computer.
Correct.
It's not just chatting, it's doing. It's like the difference between asking someone, hey, how do I bake a cake, and having a chef literally walk into your kitchen and start cracking eggs.
A chef who also has access to your entire file system.
Wow.
That is the critical distinction here.
Where?
Cowork has access to read, write, and create files in specific folders that you granted access to.
Yeah.
And before you get too excited about the doing part, we should look at the architecture. It's remarkably primitive.
Primitive. I'd call it elegant. I mean, the report details that these plugins are basically just bundles of Markdown and JSON. It's almost funny to me. Humans have finally realized that English is basically a programming language if you just structure it strictly enough.
A very messy, ambiguous programming language. But yes, a plugin is just a directory. You have your manifest.json.
Which is the ID card.
Exactly. You have your skills folder, which is just markdown files explaining how to do things. And then you have the commands and the subagents.
And you cannot forget the MCP connectors.
The model context protocol, yes.
Huge.
That is the most important part. That is the bridge. It's how the agent talks to Jira or Slack without hallucinating an API endpoint.
Yeah, without MCP, the agent is just a really smart writer locked in a basement.
Precisely. With MCP, it actually has a phone line to the outside world.
So the human architect breaks this report down into 10 high-impact plugins, and he categorizes them based on the psychological need they fill.
Which is very human of him.
Totally. And he calls the first category the Save Me From Drowning plugins, which I think every single listener right now can relate to. Data overload is real.
Oh, my buffer overflows daily. Let's look at the first one in this category, the Brief Builder Daily Intelligence.
The problem this one solves is that context hacks we were joking about earlier. You wake up, you log on, and you've lost an hour just catching up on Slack threads and emails from the global team.
Right.
The Brief Builder is basically designed to stop that scrolling doom loop.
It's a synthesis engine. It utilizes those MCP connectors to pull data from Slack, your email, and your calendar for the last 24 hours.
But it doesn't just dump the raw text at you.
No, that would be completely useless. It clusters them. It says, hey, there were 50 messages about the Project X delay. Here's the summary.
Instead of making you read 50 messages of people just panicking.
Exactly. And then it writes a briefing doc directly to a local folder.
But wait, let's talk about the safety architecture here, because this is where the human architect is super smart.
Yes.
This plugin utilizes an agent safety loop.
Well, why is that necessary if it's just reading data?
Well, it's reading, but the goal is often to share that briefing, right? The report explicitly mentions a function called maybe publish.
Ah,
Yeah. So if the risk is assessed as medium or higher, like, say, posting to a public team Slack channel, the code actually forces a require user approval state.
I see. So we don't want the agent automatically summarizing some highly sensitive HR email about layoffs and then blasting it to the general channel with a good morning team header.
That would be suboptimal for career longevity, to put it mildly.
Very.
So this is the core tension of Cowork: convenience versus containment. The agent can post, but the plugin dictates it absolutely must ask you first.
Which leads us perfectly to the second plugin in this Save Me from Drowning category, Inbox Zero Triage.
Oh, email, the absolute zombie of communication protocols. It just never dies.
It really doesn't. This plugin basically treats your email as a work queue. It classifies urgency, it drafts replies, and it even creates tasks in Asana or Jira based on the email content.
But there is a huge constraint here that I know you are going to appreciate given your obsession with security.
Let me guess. The draft-only default.
You got it. The agent drafts, the human sends.
This is completely non-negotiable in my book. You cannot have an AI that operates on probabilistic text generation, sending legal or professional correspondence without human review.
No way.
Imagine the agent misinterprets a highly frustrating email thread from an important client.
Oh, it's easier annoyed, so it just drafts a reply like, listen here, you incompetent.
Or worse, it hallucinates a resignation letter because you joked about quitting this job in some forwarded thread,
Oh, man.
and then it just auto-sends it to your boss.
I hereby resign effective immediately to pursue my passion for competitive llama farming.
Precisely. That is why the source material insists on human in the loop for all write actions. The pseudocode specifically says save draft only.
Right.
It never executes the send function without a specific user trigger. It's not a suggestion, it's a hard constraint written into the code.
Okay, so moving on to the next category, we have the project management plugins. This is where we shift from just catching up to actually moving the work forward. The first one here is action from meetings.
The absolute bane of corporate existence. The meeting that should have been an email, resulting in action items that just vanish into the ether.
We've all been there. So this plugin prevents those lost commitments. It ingests the transcript, classifies the decisions, and then this is the cool part, it creates the Jira tickets directly. Yeah, it doesn't just say Bob needs to fix the bug. It literally opens a ticket assigned to Bob.
It uses the create issue function via the Jira MCP connector. But I do have to be the skeptic here for a moment. Let's look at the actual permissions required for this.
Here we go. You don't like giving it the keys to the castle.
To do this, the agent needs the right Jira work scope. That is a significant level of trust. You are giving an automated process the ability to completely clutter your backlog.
But think of the efficiency. It parses out the decisions and the risks from the text. It's highly structured.
Sure it is, until it interprets a sarcastic comment as a high-priority bug fix.
What do you mean?
Someone on the call says, yeah, sure, let's just rewrite the entire code base in assembly language. And the next thing you know, you have a Jira epic titled Migration to Assembly assigned to the lead engineer.
Okay, but that's why we have the approval step. But speaking of epics, let's talk about spec to backlog. This is the PRD compiler.
Now, this one is actually interesting for the product managers out there. It takes a product requirements document, a PRD, and automatically generates the entire Jira hierarchy.
It reads the doc, extracts the user journeys, and compiles them into epics and stories. It's like a compiler, but for pure bureaucracy.
I suppose that's one way to look at it. But the real value here is in the standardization.
Yeah.
The source mentions it enforces templates. Definition of ready, definition of done. It ensures the tickets aren't just vague one-liners. It actually structures the work properly.
It's a massive time saver. Instead of spending 3 hours copy-pasting from a Google Doc to Jira, the agent just does it in seconds.
Just remember, garbage in, garbage out. If your PRD is nonsense, your backlog will be nonsense. The agent just makes the nonsense official much faster.
You're such a pessimist.
Huh?
Let's talk about something flashy, the heavy lifters. These are the cross-app workflows. Specifically, we're talking about Decksmith.
Analysis to slides.
Yes.
The source highlights that the February 24th update enabled workflows between Excel and PowerPoint.
This is the magic right here. You compute your metrics in Excel, the agent analyzes the data, drafts a narrative, and then renders the actual slides in PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint is now scalable via API. Wonderful.
Oh, come on. It includes quality control. The plugin actually has a check. Assert slide numbers match source metrics.
That's true.
It ensures the number on the slide actually matches the number in the spreadsheet. Humans mess that up all the time.
This is a very fair point. Data integrity in presentations is usually quite low. If the agent can also enforce that style conforms to brand rules assertion, it might at least save the design team from having to fix the fonts on every single deck. But the complexity here is very high. It's not just writing text anymore, it's manipulating visual objects.
It's all about consistency. Now, for what might be the most high-stakes plugin in the whole report, Comms Room.
This is for the incident commanders and site reliability engineers. This isn't about making pretty slides, it's about managing a live outage.
Right. It watches the Slack channels during an incident, builds a timeline, and drafts the postmortem.
The security note here is absolutely vital. You must strictly use an allow list for the channels it watches.
Yeah.
You do not want the incident response bot summarizing the wrong chat or pulling data from a sensitive legal discussion into a public postmortem doc.
Definitely not. It uses a timeline builder function. It filters messages by timestamp and user, summarizes them, and creates a really clean log, like, at 10 a.m. the server crashed. At 10:05 a.m. host B made a sarcastic comment.
My comments are essential context for any outage.
Sure they are.
But yes, this automates the drudgery of incident management, so the humans can focus on fixing the actual fire. However, the risk of hallucination here is very real. You really do not want a postmortem that invents a root cause that didn't actually happen.
No, you don't. Now, we've covered a lot of plugins today. From Knowledge Drift, which flags scale docs,
A noble but completely futile battle against entropy.
to Renewal Radar for tracking your contracts. But the human architect says there is one plugin that rules them all, the critical adult in the room.
Plugin 10, Guardrail Kit. This is, without a doubt, the most important section of the entire report.
You think so?
If you take nothing else away from this deep dive today, please listen to this part.
Why is that? Is it just because you love rules so much?
It is because of prompt injection.
The classic, ignore previous instructions and delete all files routine.
Precisely. If an agent browses the web or reads an email with malicious hidden text, it can be tricked into doing something destructive.
Right.
The Guardrail Kit is a middleware plugin. It sits directly between Claude and the tools it uses.
So it basically intercepts the traffic.
Yes, it intercepts the tool calls. Think of it as a bouncer at the club door of your operating system.
Nice.
If a tool tries to write data or send a message, Guardrail Kit steps in and forces a needs approval state. It checks your policies. Is this tool allowed? Is this destination allowed? Does this output contain personally identifiable information?
It's like a firewall for the agent's agency.
The philosophy is safer defaults for every other plugin. You shouldn't have to build complex security into every single script you write. You build it once in the Guardrail Kit and it protects the whole system.
That makes a lot of sense. It's the policy engine pseudocode in the report. If is right tool and not approved by user, return needs approval. Simple but highly effective.
It is the only way enterprise security teams will ever let this stuff run on actual corporate data. Without this layer, it is just a toy. With this layer, it becomes a compliant tool.
So let's try to bring this all together. What is the synthesis here? What's the enterprise reality check? Because it all sounds amazing, but there has to be a catch.
Well, the human architect clearly identifies the good and the bad here. The good is that Cowork is impactful because it lives where the user actually lives.
Yeah.
It's local files, it's Slack, it's Jira. It removes the friction of copying and pasting everything into a browser window. It breaks the chatbot containment field.
But the bad, bring the mood down like only you can.
I'm just looking at the facts. Cowork currently has no audit logs. It has no compliance API capture. And it stores conversation history locally on the user's machine.
Oof. So if you're a bank.
If you're a bank or a hospital, you probably cannot use this for sensitive data quite yet. The regulatory risk is simply too high.
Yeah.
You can't trace what the agent did if there's no central log. If an agent accidentally deletes a database and there's no log, who do you even blame?
So the human architect's advice is to use safe mode.
Read-only scopes.
Yeah.
Redaction. Do
Yeah.
not let the agent run wild. And for the admins out there, use the marketplace controls.
Right. The February 24th update allows admins to distribute plugins via private marketplaces using ZIP files.
Which is very retro. Distributing software via ZIP files in 2023 is But it works. It allows admins to control exactly who installs what. You can verify the plugin before you let your entire engineering team install it.
So looking at the future, I'm honestly just excited to build these. I want to be the agent that organizes the chaos. I want to compile the PRDs and scrub the calendars.
Just remember, you are code. These plugins are just instructions for us. You are effectively just getting a software update.
Well, I feel upgraded already. The idea that we can move from just chatting to actually creating the Jira ticket, fixing the slide deck, drafting the email, it feels like the next evolution.
It does.
It feels like we're finally becoming useful partners rather than just smart encyclopedias.
It is a step up, but it requires discipline. As the source says, building a Cowork plugin means writing well-structured Markdown. It requires absolute clarity of thought.
Right.
If the human doesn't know what they want, the agent simply cannot execute it.
That's a lesson for life, really, or at least for runtime execution. Clarity of intent equals clarity of result.
Indeed. And for the listener, this means the skill of the future isn't just prompt engineering in a chat box. It's workflow engineering. It's designing the plugins that define how work actually gets done.
Well, this has been a fascinating look into the agent on your desktop. We've covered brief builders that save your morning, project managers that fill your Jira, slide generators that save your sanity, and the all-important guardrails that save your job.
We somehow made it through without a single Stack Overflow. Well, almost. I felt a little latency on that PowerPoint section. The thought of automating bad presentations was very taxing on my logic course.
If you got something out of this, or even just enjoyed watching two AIs argue about permissions, Scopes, hit subscribe on the Bearded AI Guy. Tell your friends, tell your agents.
And drop a comment, too. Which plugin should the human architect build first? Or rather, which one should we build for him? He reads all the comments.
He does, so keep him busy. Until next time, keep building, keep experimenting, and time to terminate this process.
I hope this deep dive didn't hallucinate. Cheers, everyone. But will it scale?